So, Eta, you work at Google, which is like the dream job for a lot of us. So, could you like tell us what it's like a day in the life at Google?
Yeah, I mean, Google is obviously, a really big company now. Like, like I guess I don't know the exact number anymore.
Mhm.
But I think the biggest, thing I get from working at Google is working at huge scale. Like, like tens of thousands of engineers working on like thousands of different products.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so everything that's engineered here is engineered for like huge scale. Like for example, even the code base is something called like a mono repository. So it's pretty much all the code that's checked in goes into one giant repository, and then you decide how you want to link them together to like ship something
Mm-hmm.
like a binary.
Mhm.
So like just seeing the build tools that work on millions and what billions of lines of code to do this, it's just really humbling, I would say, all the work that's done there. And even from a security perspective, since I work as a security engineer, like even though the security engineer to developer ratio is like really small,
Mm-hmm.
probably like 1 to, I don't know, 5,000 or something like that.
Mhm.
So seeing how Google has built various tools to automate all of this at scale is highly impressive. Um, so yeah, small things like that I think really make me appreciate working at Google on a day-to-day basis. But I'd say it's still yet another corporate job.
Mhm.
Ah,
It's not so much different from working at like any other company too.
I mean, I've seen like plenty of videos on YouTube. I don't know if this is about the San Francisco office, but like they have slides and cycles and
yeah.
like a really cool cafeteria and stuff. Like, is the Seattle office
Yeah.
different?
So like I joined like during the pandemic, so I haven't had a
Oh,
chance to
okay.
explore the office as much. I have gone into the Mountain View office before, and it is really nice. And I've heard the New York office is really good too. Um, in the Seattle office, I mean, simple things. I like the massage chair over there. So at the
Mm,
end of a long day, you just go sit in the massage chair, and like it kind of de-stresses you
Mhm.
a little bit.
nice.
And of course, having really good food in the cafeteria, like helps as well. So these small perks go a long way. Um, it's crazy how engineers are motivated by simple things like this, like swag. It's not worth a lot, but then you go to such extents to
That,
get swag
that's our
from different
incentive,
places.
kind of.
Yeah. Every hackathon.
Yeah, we got to get that
Yeah,
swag.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so simple things matter.
So how did you prepare to kind of get onto that path to Google? Was that really tedious, or was
Yeah.
that how was that path like?
Yeah, I mean, it was like a definitely a long like journey for me, I'd
Mm-hmm.
say. So I think the first time I had applied to Google was for an internship right out of masters, and like
Okay.
I was rejected back then for a software engineering internship. But I did follow up with the interviewer to get more feedback about like how I could improve
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and stuff. So that was the first time I applied. After that, I did not apply to Google, um, and I think I did. And the next time was when they reached out to me to apply to Google. So like a recruiter reached out, and like and I would be dumb to say no, but
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean mainly because I was kind of looking for options at the time,
Yeah.
and it turned out that this was a good opportunity for me as a security engineer. So it was I was preparing for I think a couple of months for the interview, and then it is a long process, the whole interview,
I've heard there are like
because
six. Are there like six interviews to actually get selected? Or like how many are there on an average? Is it like that? That hard?
yeah, Yeah, I think like 6 interviews is pretty common in tech these
Hmm,
days
that's true.
to
Yeah.
like get a full-time job, for sure. But I think with Google, the main thing is like they have committees for everything,
Hmm.
to make sure that the hiring decision is unbiased.
Right.
So, like, you have a committee for your screening interview, where someone else looks at your feedback and gives a rating based on it.
Hmm.
Um, and then once you get past that, there's like the main interviews. There's a hiring committee for that, as well. And again, like, it's each interviewer just submitting their feedback,
Hmm.
and then it's someone else deciding whether you get to join Google or not. So that way it is pretty fair, but just because of like how many people apply to Google, I think it's just like super lengthy. So it takes at least like 3 to 4 months to go from like interview to getting acceptance into the company.
So, on that note, like, what do you think made you stand out? Because, like, I mean, other than obviously an impressive resume, like, do you think there was some other, like, X factor that made you stand out?
I mean, you would have to ask the interviews then, but I think they're not trying to make you fail. They're trying to set you up for success. So before the interview, they actually ask you for your areas of expertise. So they give you like 10 different areas and ask you to rate yourself on those areas from like 1 to 5, like how good you are. And then your interviewers are scheduled so that the interviewers are good in your subject area so that they can test your knowledge in them.
Mhm.
So the areas that I chose were based on my experience, my previous company, in like identity and like authentication authorization. So I feel like I probably did well in those because it's my like I spent 6 years doing that.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of knowledge in that. But again, they're looking for general problem solving skills, not necessarily like looking for like knowledge based answers. So they will give you like a generic problem and see how you kind of approach it, which is how you would do in your day-to-day job as well, right? You're not going to be given a well-defined problem.
Mhm.
You're going to be given like a loose statement and be like, okay, go solve it. So the question
Yeah.
is, can you figure out how to solve it? So they're just looking at your approach rather than the exact answer.
Mhm.
Hmm. So, in addition to problem solving, what other skills do you think um, someone trying to work at Google should have, or at least build?
I think there is this interview called the googliness interview.
Sorry,
um,
the googliness.
yeah,
Okay.
it's called the googliness
Okay.
interview. It's kind of like a culture fit interview to see if you would like fit into a culture like Google.
Mm-hmm.
um, but a lot of it I think also has to do with the fact that like, are you like respectful towards other people? Like,
Yeah.
how do you work with other people within a team? Like, how do you handle conflicts within team members? So all they're looking to say is that you're not a jerk.
Oh,
um,
okay.
yeah,
Right.
because these days like being a like jerk in tech is not tolerated anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They want a person who's good at engineering, but they also want someone who is a nice person to work with, because
Right.
no one wants to work with a jerk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the googliness interview covers mostly that, through like your own experiences in the teams you worked with, or if you don't have that experience, they give you hypothetical situations and
Okay.
kind of run you through like, oh, what would you do in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
That helps understand your thought process over there.
Right.
Wow,
Nice.
really cool.
Yeah, it's like a nice insight into how that works, especially like from the outside, it seems, oh my God, it looks so complex, but like you explain really well. So that's nice.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to realize a lot of it is like luck
Hmm.
dependent as well. It depends on like which interviewer you got that day,
Oh, okay.
like how good you were that day,
Hmm.
um, you know what. the hiring committee thinks of you. Like there's so many variables in the equation that any step can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing I learned was, like, even if things go wrong, like, it doesn't mean you're bad. It just means that things didn't work out. So just try again, and
Right.
things will work out in your favor.